Hi, welcome to live stream Yoga with Louise, tips and cues to keep you safe and strong on the mat. Today's practice is about overcoming the slump that you might be in by moving past failures. Whether those failures are small or big, don't dwell on them, move past them, let them go. As always, play where you're comfortable, modify when you need to, rest when you need to. You ready? Let's hit the mat. We're going to set up for today's class coming into a standing frame. Find the halfway mark of your mat, then stand behind the halfway mark, looking towards the top end of the mat, maybe beginning to heel toe in and finding your way into a narrow mountain, feet flush along the midline, starting to squeeze the energy between the two inner thighs together. Start to stand up beautifully tall, grounding equally through both feet. Tilt your pelvis to the 12 o'clock position. Start to look for that lengthening through your spine. Bring your hands into prayer mudra in front of your heart, either keeping the thumbs alongside each other or crossing the thumbs. Come to stillness here for a few quiet moments in Tadasana, mountain pose. Looking for stillness, looking for control. Maybe this is where you want to stay, or maybe you want to float into Urdhva Hastasana. Think steeple-like frame as you begin to extend your active prayer hands overhead. Keep pressing into those palms. Keep looking for that stillness. Keep looking for that control. Keep reaching for the sky with your fingertips, standing up beautifully tall, trying not to sway your body forwards or backwards or side to side, looking for complete stillness and complete control. Then take a big breath in to prepare. Think soft ribs, soft belly. And take a big step or a small step forward into a pyramid frame. So all 10 toes looking to the front of the mat, both legs long and extended. At first, those hands are overhead, reaching for the sky. Then try to keep the pyramid frame through the legs as you begin to hinge forward into a tabletop line. Keep pressing actively into those two hands. Keep drawing up the energy along the quads of both legs. Stay here in a tabletop frame with your head tucked between the two arms, or come into a warrior three frame by transferring the weight from the back leg to the front leg. Take a moment to find your balance and then float the back leg into a tabletop position. Staying here in warrior three, or trying a dancer-like frame but grabbing opposite hand to foot, looking for that stillness, looking for that control. Then step back into a pyramid, maybe opening up the back foot at a 45-degree angle as you find a T-like frame through the arms. Maybe your hand is just pressing on the inseam of the lead leg. Maybe you've got fingers to floor. Maybe you've got palm to floor. Play with it wherever you're comfortable. Start to stack the top hip on top of the bottom hip and just open up generously through the whole body. Open triangle, Uttita Trikonasana. From here, when you're ready, you're going to find your way into a standing forward fold at the top end of your mat. Maybe placing both hands on the floor in front of you, or higher up along the chain of your legs as you step your legs into parallel and begin to bend and extend dynamically through the legs. Whether your hands are connected to your leg line or to the mat, bend and extend, and give the back chain of your legs an opportunity to warm into the stretch. Then try to hold the fold and play with the weight in your feet. At first, forwards and backwards, then maybe side to side. Then think of those 4 points and start to come into a gentle circular motion, moving clockwise between those 4 points. Then trying to find a balancing point between all 4 points so it feels like the weight is equally wrapped around all 4 quadrants of your feet. Then soften your knees, place your fingertips on the mat. We're going to take a small little bunny step backwards and we're going to try to come into elephant. Think down dog. So try to ground through all 4 quadrants of your feet. There's quite an acute triangular frame between the arms and the legs. You can either stay up high on the fingers or you can drop down onto the palms and try to hold. Preferably feet anchored, or you can have the weight on your toes with your heels off the floor. Pause here, looking for that delicious stretch between the arms and the legs. And then ever so gently walk your hands back towards your legs. Heel toe your feet in. Soften through the knees. Lead with the back of your ribs as you restack. Realign your body, coming back into your original start position in Mountain Tadasana. Floating your hands to pray. Looking for that focal point, that drishti on the wall or the space in front of you. Stay here or find that tall, steeple-like frame, Urdhva Hastasana, by floating your hands overhead. Think of maybe framing the ears on either side with your arms. Keep your frame active, feet grounded, inner thighs squeezing in, small little tilt of the pelvis to the 12 o'clock position. Breathe. Then this time, let's take a step forward into our pyramid with the left leg, and that pyramid frame can be as small or as wide as you need, but all 10 toes looking to the front of the mat and both legs fully extended. Hold the pyramid frame through the legs as you begin to fold your trunk into a tabletop line. Keep those prayer hands active. Stay here in your pyramid or think warrior 3. So start to transfer the weight from the back leg to the front leg, beginning to float the back leg up. Stay here in your warrior or reach opposite hand to foot. Without looking, just feel for the foot. Try to square the weight between the hips and the shoulders. Then take a big step back, angling in the back foot to 45 and open up into a triangular frame. Maybe dropping that lead hand to the floor, or maybe you're working higher up along the chain of the leg. Try to rotate slightly through the hip so it feels like you're stacking the top hip over the bottom hip. Breathe. Then find your way into a forward fold, stepping to the front of the mat, maybe both hands on the floor, maybe your hands are higher up along the chain of the legs as you bend and extend dynamically through the legs. And then when it feels like the back chain of the legs is warm enough, fold into the expression of Uttanasana, forward fold that works for you, and just hold. Maybe starting to sway the weight back and forth. You can think of this as the north and the south position. So between the balls and the heels of your feet. Then think east-west, so sides of the feet. Then begin to trace an anti-clockwise circle between those 4 points. Come to stillness. Hold your fold. Weight equal on all 4 quadrants of the feet. When you're ready, you're going to find your way into elephant. Maybe coming onto the tips of the fingers, bending softly through the knees. Take a little hop or a step or 2 back. Then start to straighten up through the legs, either staying high on the tips of your fingers or dropping down onto the palms and thinking a cute stretch up the back chain of your legs. Keep your belly button softly pulled into center and feel the blood begin to pool into your head as the head hangs like a little bell between the two arms. Take a few relaxed breaths here before you decide to change your frame and ease your way into a 4-point kneeling tabletop line, hands stacking underneath your shoulders with your knees underneath your hip points. We're going to play in Cow Bitadasana. You're going to begin in a tabletop line with the longest line through the neck and the spine that you can manage. On an inhale, start to think of floating the chin and the bum bones to the sky as you hollow out the back and round out the belly. Pause here without collapsing. So you're pushing the mat away and you're holding your cow frame. Looking for strength in the arms. Even though you've got that curve in the spine, I want you to pull your belly button gently into center and keep it an active working cow. Look for a little stretch that almost feels like it's going through the lower belly and opening up into the sternum. Find your way back into table, your gaze now between the two thumbs. And then walk your hands back. Find your way into a high kneeling frame, shoulders, hips, knees stacked in one long line. Place your hands into your lower back, palms and fingertips looking down or up. Bump your weight forward and come into a gentle supported camel. Pause here for a few gentle breaths, looking for that stretch into the top of your thighs, into the lower belly. Opening up generously through the chest. On each inhale, think of lateral expansion through the ribs. Then ease your way back into 4-point kneeling when you're ready. Find that long tabletop line through the neck and the spine. We're going to bring it into a cat hold from here. Mari Jaryasana. Take a big breath in. Think soft ribs, soft belly. On the exhale, hollow out your belly, round out your back and hold the stretch. Think of making the skin on the back nice and tight so it feels like it's stretching tight over your ribs. Almost as if those back ribs wanted to pop out through the skin. Hold it nice and tight. Maybe you're starting to feel the blood gently pool into your head. Take a few breaths here. Even though it might be a little harder to take that inhale from this frame, throat center slightly constricted. Ease your way back into a neutral tabletop line. Gaze down on the mat between your two thumbs. Belly button gently pulled into center. We're going to find our way back into camel, but we're going to switch it up and we're going to tuck the hands behind our head, interlacing the fingers softly like a little zip, placing them behind the fingers, behind the head. Start to press forward through your fingertips and your palms. Start to lean back with your head and see if you can give me a slight curved spine. So you're thinking of stacking your hips over your knees as a nice little stretch into the lower belly, and you're actively resting the weight of your head back into your hands, and you're using your hands as a basket to catch the weight of your head, keeping your elbows tracking nice and wide. Breathe into the front of your ribs. Feel your sternum opening up on each inhale. When you're ready, you're going to find your way back into 4-point kneeling and you're going to start moving through a dynamic cat-cow. We're going to play it a 1 to 2 inhalation to exhalation. Starting table. Take a big breath in to prepare, finding your way into the cow frame. Think hollow back. Let's say maybe a count of 4. And then for an exhale of 8, if you can, you're going to change the shape and you're going to come into your cat. Starting to find your 1 to 2 breath ratio. And then maybe starting to use your bandhas or your locks. So every time you round out in cat, pull up the pelvic floor, the Mula Bandha. Allow the diaphragm to fall in, the Uddiyana Bandha, and then apply the chin lock, the Jalandhara Bandha. Maybe when you run out of exhale, holding for a further few soft counts, using Kumbhakasana, so not taking air in or out, and then starting to repeat the cycle again. Let's say maybe inhaling for 4, exhaling to round out for 8, using those 3 locks in succession, pelvic floor, diaphragm, chin lock. When you run out of exhale, hold. Give me at least 2 more rounds, finding your rhythm. And if you find the 4 to 8 too easy, you can make your breath cycle longer, but try not to strain on the exhale. Find your way into the neutral tabletop line. Ease your way back into that surrender camel and we'll play with it. So tuck both hands behind your head. Find that little basket. Start to press forward with the hands. Start to lean back with the head. Then holding that camel front, give me a slight off-center twist to the left. Maybe looking with your eyes, with your gaze, just to the left side of your mat. Keep both elbows reaching tall, even though the one is dropped lower than the other. Come back to center. Keep the hips traveling forward, but the head leaning back. And then give me a slight off-center twist to the right. Starting to look with your gaze down to the floor, to the right side of your mat. Ease your way back to center. Find your way back into 4-point kneeling. We're going to ease our way into the down dog frame from here, so wider than the elephant frame we used earlier on. Begin to tuck your toes under. Start to pike your bum up to the sky. If you're feeling really tight, you can bend and extend both legs in unison until the back chain of the legs has released enough and you feel like you can hold the frame. Then start to release through the head, maybe giving me a little nodding pattern first, thinking chin up and down, think yes-like pattern. And then maybe think a no-like pattern. Then come to stillness and just hold. Crown nice and heavy to the floor, trying to anchor through both heels as best you can. Feel that delicious stretch into the back of your legs. Breathe nice and generously into all 4 quadrants of your ribs. Stay here or find your way into dolphin pose by dropping down onto the forearms. You can keep the arms into parallel. Maybe the heels will float off the mat. Or maybe you want to bring the 2 palms together and fist the hands, making more of a tripod to relax your frame. Stay here in dolphin, or maybe you'd like to try a balancing baby crow by softening the knees, starting to walk your feet forward closer towards your hands, resting your knees on your triceps. Nose is floating just off the mat, and your feet are floating and resting off the mat behind you. Wherever you were, find your way into child pose, maybe draping the arms long and lengthened alongside your body. Or maybe you'd like to come to a prayer position with your hands behind your back. So think palms coming together behind your back. Pinkies are resting on your spinal line with all 10 fingers looking towards the nape of your neck. Breathe. And if this prayer position behind the back is not for you, maybe you just want to bend at the elbows, hold on to the forearms, maybe that works for you. Wherever you decide to play, take a couple of generous breaths here. Remember, we're focusing on what we can do, not on what's not working on the mat today. Whatever's not working, let it go. Try an alternative. Breathe. Look for a calming breath pattern. Then start to bring the hands back to the floor. Think soft 4-point kneeling like frame. We're going to ease our way into a seated frame. Maybe coming onto the tips of your fingers, tucking the toes under. Maybe thinking relaxed dog by starting to pull the knees up off the floor. And then maybe stepping or hopping forward, crossing at the ankles, taking a sit on the mat, and then bringing your feet into a butterfly line. Bringing the soles of the feet together, maybe starting to walk the heels in closer towards the perineum. Maybe you're wrapping around the feet, maybe around the toes, maybe around the ankles. Just find what works for you. And then start to make your knees as heavy as you can to the floor. Feel that nice opening beginning to happen into the pelvic region. Make your crown as tall as you can to the sky. And start to look for an almost lengthening into the lower belly area. Think bum bones and weight of the trunk traveling down into the mat, but at the same time your crown is reaching for the sky. Your shoulders are dropping away from your ears, and your spine is growing to the sky. Your knees are falling gently open. Baddha Konasana, butterfly pose. Then see if you can make your way from here into a tall, staffed seat, Dandasana. Beginning to extend the legs one at a time. Arms maybe just resting on the tops of your thighs as you sit up as tall as you can. Bum bones still connected to the mat. Feet are active and just inside of hip width distance apart. Then just see if you can gently pull up from your kneecap along your quad and see if you can hover both heels off the floor, keeping the rest of your staff frame, Dandasana, nice and tall. Such a simple pose, such an easy way to help correct and modify bad posture. Just sitting up tall, pulling up that imaginary zip from your pelvic floor towards your sternum. Then keep your tall seat, but start to soften the tops of your quads so that you can relax those heels back to the floor, but keep your seat nice and tall. We're going to ease our way from staff into fish pose, Matsyasana. Place your fingertips on the mat behind you and start to walk back till you can drop down onto the elbows. Maybe tucking just your fingertips underneath your bottom. And maybe this is where you want to pause without collapsing your chest. So you're thinking chest floating up to the sky. Maybe this is where you stop with your fish. Alternatively, maybe bringing the legs flush along the midline, making them active, and starting to drag your weight over your hands. So it feels like the tops of your hands are now tucked underneath your bottom, and you can get more curve through the spine, maybe dropping the crown of your head to the floor behind you. If you need to, you can place a block underneath your head, opening up generously through your chest. And we're going to keep it a supported fish today. Just breathe nicely into the front of your ribs. Try to think of breathing into the sternum area. Opening up beautifully through your throat center, your Vishuddhi chakra. Feeling that little bit of pressure on the crown of your head, your Sahasrara chakra, the highest energy center in your body. Then begin to nod your chin to your chest. Fold it forward. Maybe your hands are just softly draped on the floor alongside your legs. Maybe your hands are connected to the tops of your thighs. Or maybe you can reach for your big toes. Or maybe you can wrap your hands around the soles of your feet. However your fold looks, just hold here. And now begin to breathe as deeply as you can into the back of your ribs. Think back and sides. Focus on soft, long, relaxed inhales and exhales. Breathe as generously as you can. We're going to find our way from this forward fold into a supine position. And you can think of using your fish-like frame to get there. Sit up nice and tall once more in Dandasana, staff pose. Maybe you'd even like to float the hands behind you this time and see if you can come to a fisted hold, keeping the rest of your staff active, maybe floating those heels off the floor by pulling up along your quads, reaching with your knuckles for the wall behind you. Then start to relax the heels back to the floor, unbind the hands, start to drop back onto the elbows. Maybe bending the legs one at a time, grounding the feet. Scooching your bum closer towards your heels and then draping yourself softly on the floor and preparing yourself for a bridge line. We'll do the first bridge with the arms alongside the body. Make sure the feet are not too far from you. Feet and knees hip-width distance apart. Spine and pelvis begins in neutral. Take a big breath in. Soft ribs, soft belly. On the exhale, begin to tilt to the 12 o'clock position. Imprint your lower and your mid-back. Start to curl the tailbone in, beginning to bleed your bum and then your back line off the mat as you gently begin to float your belly and your hips up towards the sky. Maybe walking up closer through the shoulders, starting to look for a little bit of compression in the throat center as you nod your chin towards your chest, and then just pause here, making your shoulders heavy, making your arms heavy, looking for that delicious stretch through the belly, through the tops of your thighs, reaching along through your kneecaps. Then start to bleed your way back down, starting to open up through the shoulder blades. Thinking hollow belly, rounded back before you tilt your pelvis back into neutral. Take a recovery breath. Float both knees up into a tabletop position, placing your hands palms down on the knees. Using the knees independently of each other, begin to trace 2 circles away from each other and back towards the midline. Giving yourself a few lazy traces, moving in the same direction, keeping your whole back line soft and relaxed, and then beginning to trace your circle in the opposite direction. Knees still moving independently of one another. Find your way back into your bridge setup. We're going to try to come to a fisted hand position this time. Beginning with the same setup frame. Arms relaxed at your side, feet and knees hip-width distance apart, spine and pelvis in neutral. Big breath in to prepare, soft ribs, soft belly. On the exhale, as you tilt to the 12 o'clock position through the pelvis, the ribs fall in, the abs contract. Allow that contraction to bleed you up into your bridge, Setu Bandha. Then maybe start to walk the 2 shoulders even closer together, maybe bringing the 2 palms and the heels of the hands together, crossing off your fisted hand, and try to breathe nice and generously into the front of your ribs. Try to breathe through the discomfort of having the chin pressed right up against your chest. Think of activating gently into your thyroid. Make sure you're not Ving your knees out to the side of the room. Breathe. Look for stillness. Look for control. Then unbind the hands. Open up that spot between the shoulders. Lead your way back down to neutral. Once you've found a neutral spine and a neutral pelvis, draw the knees back up into your tabletop line. This time, pressing them softly together and moving the knees in unison as you trace a clockwise circle. Using the knees as one unit to trace that circle. Do a few lazy traces in one direction and then change it and move in the opposite direction. We're going to find our way back into bridge. We're going to come to a one-legged variant, and you can do hands on floor or you can do a fisted line. Let's try the hands on floor line first. Relax the arms at your side. Feet and knees are still hip-width distance apart, spine and pelvis in neutral. Big breath in to prepare. On the exhale, tilt. Start to peel up into your bridge line. Walk those shoulders in nice and tight. See if you can subtly transfer the weight from your right leg to your left and begin to float the right leg up to the sky, trying to stay even through the pelvis and the hips. Pause here for a few quiet moments, and if it's fully extending the leg is not possible, maybe just bring it into a tabletop line. Then subtly reground your right leg and try the same on the left. Either leg fully extended or leg in table if the full extension is not happening for you. Chin right up against your chest the whole time. Don't look to the side of the room. Don't want to tweak your neck. Reground. Open up the shoulders. Lean back down. As you find your way into neutral, start to work a little Pavanmuktasana by hugging both knees in towards your chest on the exhale, and on the inhale, rolling the knees away from you. So you're almost getting a soft back and forth rocking motion going on the lower back, using an active breath pattern. Maybe giving a nice audible sound on the exhale as you hug your knees in towards your chest. Look for that release in the lower back. We're coming back into that one-legged bridge, and this time we're going to try to fist the hands behind us. When you're ready, set up your bridge-like frame. Check that your feet and your knees are hip-width distance apart, spine and pelvis in neutral. Big breath in to prepare, soft ribs, soft belly. On the exhale, begin your tilt. Start to bleed up into your bridge. Then start to walk the shoulders in, bringing the two hands into a fisted line behind your back. Transfer the weight into the left leg, maybe just floating the right leg into table. If that feels good, fully extend the leg. Hold. Look for stillness, look for control. Even through the shoulders, even through the hips. Then reground your right foot. Start to change sides. Either coming into a tabletop line or an extended leg line on the left. Eka Pada Setubandha. And reground. Open up the hands, open up the shoulders. Start to bleed back down. Dynamically begin to draw the right knee in towards the nose and then away from you. Maybe draw your right knee into your nose on the last one, then scoop to peel up, as if you wanted to tap your knee towards your nose. Extend the left leg, bracing into the foot, and maybe giving me a few taps. Maybe tapping either your calf or your heel gently to the mat. Then fully extending both legs, interlacing both hands, inverting them, pushing away from you. Take a little stretch here, coming out through the hips and the ribs. Then bend both legs, think bridge-like frame. When you're ready, start to dynamically draw the left knee in towards your nose and away from you. Then think knee to nose, scooping to peel your head and your shoulders off the mat. See if you can start to extend the right leg away, giving an active brace into your foot, maybe starting to tap. Then extend both the legs, actively brace into them, interlace the hands, invert them, push them away from you and take a little stretch here. When you're ready, bleed your way into Shavasana by uninterlacing the hands, sweeping them alongside the body, but not flush along the body. Give yourself distance between the hands and the body. Palms are looking up. Allow the big toes to rotate out to the corners of your mat and settle your body into Shavasana. Maybe give your toes a little wiggle. Maybe give me a few circular releases through the ankle in one direction and then the other. Then just relax the legs, hip to toes, totally soft. Begin to wriggle your fingers. And give me a few releases through the wrists in one direction and a few in the opposite. Then totally relax the hands. Fingers are softly curled in. And just try to soften from your shoulder line all the way through the line of the arms to the very tips of each finger. Start to soften your bum. Bleed your cheeks into the mat. Start to allow that softness to extend from the bum into your lower back, then your middle back, upper back, all the way into the shoulders and the collar line. Then allow that softness to wrap around the collar line, making its way down over your breast and your chest line, down towards the belly, towards the pelvis. Feel that softness wrap around and just relax the whole trunk of your body. Then start to look for a little bit of length into the back of your neck by making your chin heavy towards your chest. Start to soften your jawline. Feel the lower jaw dropping away from the upper jawline. Allow for a slightly open mouth. Make room so that your tongue can just hang limply in your mouth. Think of softening the skin over your face. Think soft brow, soft eyelids, soft skin over your cheeks, your nose, your lips and your chin. Think of starting to make your ears heavy as if they wanted to melt towards your collar line. Soften your eyes. Allow your eyeballs to roll weightlessly in the sockets. Start to focus on your breath. Start to try and lengthen your inhales and your exhales, keeping them long, soft, and relaxed. Trying to keep the inhalation and the exhalation exclusively through the nose so that you're activating into your parasympathetic nervous system, cooling, calming down the body. On each inhale, think of the ribs gently expanding, allowing for the air to fill your lungs. As you exhale, feel the ribs falling into center, gently squeezing the stale air out of your lungs. Keep your whole body soft, relaxed, pliant. When you're ready, you can gently bend your knees one at a time, grounding your feet. Maybe pausing for a moment, just allowing the lower back an opportunity to relax. And when you're ready, roll over onto the side of your body, preferably the right side of your body, with the left side facing the ceiling, coming into a fetal pose, maybe holding onto the top thigh or maybe just relaxing your hand to the floor. And you can tuck that bottom arm into a position that works for you. When you're ready, and in no rush at all, you're going to find your way into a seat of your choice to end off your practice for today. Maybe you're coming into a cross-legged seat. Maybe you're just sitting with one hand on top of the other. Just find your seat. Relaxing your hands into maybe an open expression, palms up, or you can find the mudra of your choice. Close your eyes. Take your focus inward. Think of that intention that we set at the beginning of the class, centered around the word slump. Remember that this slump too shall pass. Failures are inevitable. Moving forward each time is the true test. With that thought, close off your practice for today, bringing your hands together in prayer mudra in front of your heart in an expression of gratitude. Namaste to you. Thank you so much for coming out and joining me today. I hope you enjoyed today's practice. Till next time, keep it light.